Have you been wondering about potentially writing a book? Maybe you've been inspired to write one. Maybe someone you know has written one and you've kind of been wondering about it. Maybe you've had a couple of doubts. Maybe you don't believe that your story deserves to be heard. The story deserves to be heard, and there are ways to get it done. And I'm here to help you get it done. The Spring Forward Writers Retreat is coming up March 14th to 16th in Orlando, Florida. So be sure to go to springforwardretreat.com to sign up and get your spot. But we're going through the process. We're going to lead you all the way from start to finish on how to get your book done, how to ideate, how to set up your outline, and how to create the content for your book in as little time as possible. We are shortening the distance between your idea and your fully completed manuscript. By the end of the weekend, you will come away as an author with your completed manuscript. And you'll be coming away with the next steps that you need to take to become a best-selling author. Not just a published author, but a best-selling author. So again, be sure to check out springforwardretreat.com for more information.
Good or bad, you're one or two decisions away from something that could make your life incredible or something that could make your life horrific. One or two decisions away. So, just to answer your question directly, those habits, this is where it gets real. Those habits have increased my confidence.
Good evening. Happy Wednesday, my winners and goal getters. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Getting the Win show. I'm your host, Melissa T, the procrastination bully, and tonight you are in for a treat. We've got the one and only Bayesian sensation, Karl Wesley Phillips. He is coming back to chop it up with me. He's made some recent life changes that has increased his productivity, and I wanted to bring him back on the show to share those with you guys, so you can hear for yourself all the things that I've shared on different episodes of the show, but hear from someone who's actually implementing them and the ripple effects that has had in his life and the way that that has boosted his productivity and his confidence. So definitely, as always, be ready to take notes. Have your pen and pad ready, your notes app on your phone or your other mobile device, whatever it is. Get ready to get these notes. All right. Enjoy this episode and be blessed. As promised, I have the one and only Bayesian sensation, Karl Wesley Phillips, in the building.
No pressure. No pressure.
But yeah, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for coming back on. I appreciate you.
Hey, how long? Well, first of all, thank you for having me back on. That means I must not have messed up too bad the last time. So we're back for seconds. When was the last one? Was that
December 2023?
Yeah, it's over a year now. Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, we're back.
We are back. Yeah. And that's one of those things we're going to get into a little bit later in our convo. But I wanted to share your evolution with our folks because, obviously this show focuses on productivity and beating procrastination, the things that are necessary to beat it. And you've done several things recently in terms of just completely breaking old habits by introducing new ones. So I would love to start our conversation with some of those changes that you've made in your routine, in your daily routine, and how you've seen that change your productivity or increase your energy, or what those ripple effects have been in your life.
Oh man. So, all right. And how long is this show? We got to talk about ripple effects. So I'll take it all the way back. So of course, the last time we connected was the live event, my first ever, I'll say only, I don't know if I'm doing it again. I don't have any plans. Hey, so we don't know where it is. That might be just a novel thing in a moment in history that Karl has, but we can start there. And that was very, very transformational. And I'll use two keywords: transformational versus transactional. That's shout out to Dr. Adam Downs. Like, he kind of introduced that to us in a recent episode of our podcast, the S2S podcast, and it has those words stuck with me. So that event was transformational for me because, again, I have been, and you guys most of you guys listening know me, know my story. If not, I am the behind the scenes guy, like, a true introvert that is, I'd say ambivert. I can, I'm comfortable around people. I'm not like scared of people, like not that level of introversion, but I do have those moments where I like Karl, the quiet time behind the scenes. I don't need to be seen. I don't need the spotlight. I don't need that at all.
Right.
So to step out and do that event was, kind of like a declaration of, hey, I know who I am, but I also know that there are times in life where I'm going to have to be something that I'm not comfortable with in order to get the things that I want. Right.
Hmm.
And then go a step deeper in order to be the person that God created me to be. It's not just being comfortable all the time.
That,
So again, coming from behind the scenes and doing that event, putting the whole event on, and I'll be honest with you, it was so much fun. I know that may sound weird to people, like an introvert getting in the spotlight. And it was complete fun only because, number one, like I was my authentic self. I
that's
didn't try to put on anything. I didn't try to be anything that I wasn't. Like the moments that I was uncomfortable, I shared that. The moments that I felt
true.
great, I shared that. It was just, here's what it is. Like, I'm not trying to pretend anymore. So you got to see Karl. So let's just kind of move forward. So that event, like I said, kind of catapulted Karl into this new, realm of being. And it's just like, okay, you can be uncomfortable. So from there, we actually did a mastermind, right? We did a
Hmm.
mastermind a couple months later. And at that mastermind, shout out to Dr. Gersh Kim. Gersh came. We had, a couple other speakers, but Dr. Kim, he came and did some mindfulness, some meditation practices, some grounding. And when I tell you, I'll just say it like this, for those that were present, like they didn't know this, but I had him scheduled for like a kind of lunch, after you eat, you've been sitting all day. Let's
Move your
just do a little
body.
stretch, move a little bit. His session went over. He ended up having to do two sessions. The lunch session that was scheduled for about a 20-25 minutes ended up going like almost 2 hours.
Wow.
Then we had to move to another section, and we actually never got it. So we ended up bringing, coming back inside. We stayed outside for like 2 hours, just doing some mindfulness, some stretching, grounding
Wow.
exercise. And he's walking us through why this is important, closing your eyes. And like, it's just not doing it, but he's talking us through the entire process. And when I tell you, and I'm saying for me now, mind you, I'm the person putting the event on, but I'm standing there with everybody else going through the activities, and I can feel my shoulders relaxing.
Hmm.
I can feel my, like, being present, like like breathing and like really feeling the air going into my lungs, and just like, holy cow, like what an incredible feeling to be here now in this moment, not worried about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, not worried about, anything else but being now. So again, he did that activity, and then we went back inside, and I had another slot scheduled for an hour. He closed the event. Like he literally did
Oh,
everything else for the rest of the afternoon. Like I'm talking about, like it was like, and again, being mindful of what people are enjoying. I'm like, I don't have the event is for the people. So if they're enjoying this and they're getting incredible value from it, why am I, I don't have to switch it up. I had an idea, but nope, we're good. So he took us through some activities. I'm talking about like binaural beats. So we're listening to certain frequencies
yep.
and healing frequencies. And then he's just educating us, like, listen to this. And he didn't give us an idea of what it was. Here, I'm going to play this frequency, and I want you to tell me how you feel. And when I
Mm.
tell you, like, what, Melissa, there are people like, oh my gosh, like I felt this, I felt that. And oh my gosh, like this took me back in this. And it's just like, really? Just from listening to something for like 30, 60 seconds? And he would explain to us after, well, that frequency was for healing, or that
Mm.
frequency was to release, negative energy. And it's like people are literally pulling thoughts and stuff in seconds. So again, all this to say, Melissa, like once he introduced us to all these things, it's like, well, how do I implement this into my life on a daily basis? Like I'm enjoying what it feels like. I'm enjoying this being present, the mindfulness. So to answer your question directly, I know that was a long ramp up,
No, that was
but
good. That was good.
I had to set the stage, right?
Yeah.
So what happened from there is, okay, Karl, now after the event, don't just be, the person that preaches this stuff. Like I need you to implement this stuff. So I literally came back, and for all of last year, one of my goals was to kind of get more focused on health, right? That was kind of like, hey, I don't care what else happens, we're gonna do something around health. And I started going to the gym. So this is already, I'm setting this up. This is already a practice that I have. So I'm already going to the gym roughly 4 to 5 times a week. All right.
Right.
How do I implement these other things around this one good habit that I have was the question. So, okay. So the biggest thing that happened was I kind of made, but God probably just gave me like a little prick on the side. It's like, hey, you're putting health first, but the person that gave you the body that you're trying to take care of, you're not including. So
That part.
let's kind of revisit this a little bit. So that revelation came to me, and it was like, okay, Karl, let's spend some time with God first, right? And the gym I go to opens at 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be there early because I don't want to be in the crowd, all the people. Again, true introvert, y'all. It comes out in everything we do, right? So I want to get there early, get my workout in, and then the real reason that I'm trying to go early is because I want to get it done before my family wakes up, so that when they wake
That.
up, I'm here. I don't want to be gone every morning. My kids wake up, they're not seeing me. Like, no, so I'm gonna get there 5:30, 6:30. I'm back home. They're just getting up most mornings. So I started waking up like 30 minutes earlier because it's like, okay, God, I got to get you in, but I want to keep this time frame. So it's pushed my wake up time now to about 4:30,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm starting to wake up around 4:30 and pretty decent, pretty consistently. Again, it was tough initially. I had to, for everybody, this is common sense, but I don't know why we just don't do it. You have to go to bed earlier to wake up earlier. Let's just
That.
put that there.
Yeah.
It starts the night before.
Exactly. That is true.
Yeah. One of the things that we have to pay attention to is that it's not just going to happen. I'm not just going to just all of a sudden start waking up at 4:30 in the morning, right? Yes, I'm
True.
waking up early, but that 30 minutes, that hour, it makes a difference. Your body's kind of used to a certain routine. So the pattern shifted where I had to go to bed earlier. So now I'm starting to go to bed, 8:30, 9, just trying to make sure I get to bed. Some nights I'm not falling asleep, but fine, whatever. I'm in bed, my body's starting to wind down. So to fast forward, so I'm starting to, get up earlier, get the worship in, right? Go to the gym, get back from the gym. Now, I'm trying to combine things. I'm just showing you how one decision changes everything. So I'm going to the gym, and now guess who's going to the gym with me? My son is going to the gym with me, right? So now I'm getting to spend time with him early in the morning. So he's waking up and seeing me being consistent. He's going. Now, I get back from the gym and I'm being mindful of nutrition, right? Two
Mm-hmm.
things, nutrition. And then I was like, hey, you know what? Before you go inside, let's just go outside and practice some of the stuff that Dr. Kim taught you. So I'd go outside for 10, 15 minutes, get the binaural beats, put them in, and just stand there. Like most mornings, the sun's coming up. I can feel the sun's rays. And I live in Michigan, so this was during the summer months. Let's just be clear. We're not
Important
doing that.
distinction.
Yeah, we're not doing that once, November, December, the rest of these months hit. We're not doing that. So this practice happened in the warmer months. So I'm out there and I'm taking shoes off. I'm standing. And to be honest, some mornings were still cool, but just being present, breathing, listening to the binaural beats. Like I felt so alive. There's one morning where, and this may sound so corny to you, or I don't know, but
Mm.
I literally opened my eyes and saw like a perfectly blue sky, and I almost was to tears.
No,
Like
that's awesome.
no matter what direction
Just
I look, it was like
clear.
the same color, clear blue sky. And I was just like, holy cow, like look what I'm experiencing right now because I took the time to just focus on me and just this moment. And so
Yeah.
what I'll do, like I'll lay on the grass, literally literally all the way, lay it out, close my eyes, and I'm just laying there. And the thing that Dr. Gurr said is like your thoughts, your subconscious is trying to bring these thoughts. It's still trying to protect you, and you have permission to tell those thoughts, hey, thank you, but not now. Just go somewhere for now. Like, hey, get out of here.
I
Right.
like that.
So I'm literally going through this process every single day. And it's just like, hey, I appreciate you thought, but not right now. Right now, I'm just
Hmm.
being present. I'm in the moment, enjoying this, breathe. You know what I mean? And he gave us
Hmm.
a couple of breathing exercises to practice. So I'd come back in after that now, Melissa, and I started this habit of it's like this kind of granola. Like I'm eating now intentionally. I really want people to hear one habit has now turned into a whole morning routine, like a whole morning routine.
That's
So I got
beautiful.
this granola, yogurt, mix the yogurt and protein in there, add some fruits to it. And it's just like that's my immediate meal after I'm done with all of this. And then I'm coming back and, my family's awake now. We'll sit down and do like a family worship together. So I'm trying to show people that wherever you are one or two decisions away from a whole new, and I'll say, as a factual thing, good or bad. You're
Mm-hmm.
one or two decisions away from something that could make your life incredible or something that could make your life horrific. One or two decisions away. So, just to answer your question directly, those habits, this is where it gets real. Those habits have increased my confidence.
Oh, very good. Cool.
And I want people to understand that's probably one of the things that I've struggled with for the longest. And not that I'm a low, like I don't value Karl or like not like that, but it's like I just thought everybody else was better.
Yeah,
And what I realized is like, hey, you don't take time to develop you. That's why you look at everybody else.
that
If you
part.
took the time to develop you and enjoy the process of developing yourself, then when you step into a room, now I walk into the room with 6 months, 9 months of working out. Like that's who Karl is now. Like I could talk about that confidently. I don't have a problem anymore. Like, but before when I had worked out once a week or once every other week, like so I had a conversation with myself and I was just literally like, hey, self, I want to be able to trust you. I want to be able to trust you. When you say something, it gets done. And if
Mm-hmm.
we can develop that kind of relationship between us,
That.
everybody else is good.
Yeah,
Everybody else is good because I know who I am. I know I'm trustworthy. I know I'm gonna get what I say is done. Like my word is bond. So now, like I said, that impacted my confidence in an incredible way because it's no longer am I running to the call of everything else that seems to be an emergency and urgent. No, 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 no. Right now, I'm focused on becoming the best version. Back to the word that I said at the beginning, transformation, not
yep.
transaction, right? A lot of us, we're so caught in transaction. I do this, you do that. Hey, you asked me to do this, I got you. Hey, you pay me this, I give you that. Like our whole world is based on transactions. And we've lost sight of becoming something, becoming who we're designed to be. So that whole concept of transformation is what I just like, that's what I just experienced. And when I tell you night and day, when I said I talked about confidence, I'll give you one more and then this is not conversational with us. I'm talking all the time. I'm gonna let you I'll let you get into. But again, I'm just being real. But you see how much it has impacted me. That's why I'm
Yeah,
so I'm poor. It's pouring out of me now. But
exactly.
the second part about it is so confidence number one, but then secondly, like this version of Karl is now able to represent himself better, right? And what I mean by that is, man, I don't have the same emotional struggles I did anymore. And I'm slowing down on purpose. And when I say emotional
Please,
struggles, like let me give context for that. All right.
please. That's
One of
important.
the things that, a lot of us suffer with is this concept of overthinking, right? I am thinking, Melissa and I had a conversation and she said this. What did she mean? Like, I wonder if, holy cow, I
Yep.
hope she didn't mean that when I said that, or I should have done this. And I should, oh man. And I'm talking about this thing could turn into a day, 2 days, a week of just emotional turmoil. Not
Ruminating.
anymore, Melissa. Not anymore. Like now, one of two things. One of two things I've began to do. All right.
Hmm.
Number one, get emotional control. The same practice of meditating and looking at my thoughts like, hey, thank you for this thought, but I don't need to process it. I don't need for that thought to turn into an emotion because the emotion will turn into an action, which is going to get me a result, right?
Exactly.
I can stop it at the thought level. So now I'm looking at the thought like, hey, it's not that deep. If you and Melissa had something that didn't feel right, you got two options. Number one, call Melissa and let's figure it out. Like, hey, Melissa, you said this, and I just want to make sure. Oh, cool, bet. Okay. 9 times out of 10, Melissa, it's never as bad as we think. Nine
Exactly.
times out of 10, it's never. So anybody that's struggling with that, that whole concept of conflict it's not as deep as you think. Well, number one. Number two, even if I don't take that step, because remember, I'm still rooted in introversion over here. Even if I don't take that step, right? And I want people to, I want to be real. So people like, I'm not all of a sudden just a bold guy. I'm gonna run through, run after everything. No, there's still a process. But even if I don't take that step, what I'm able to do is now put that thought aside. Like, hey, you're not going to interrupt my day. Like, I
That's
know where this goes, but right now, I'll deal with this later on, but you're not going to interrupt my day. I'm actually going to be happy because now I'm aware, oh, that thought is trying to throw my happiness off. Ah, gotcha. Nope, I'm good on that. Go somewhere. We're not doing that. What's another good thought that I can replace that with? Oh, you know what? My
Yes,
kids did this. My wife did this. Man, my parents are still, man, thank you, God. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
we hear these things, but I'm really now embodying them and putting them into practice. And I am enjoying it, Melissa, because this is the big part for me. And I said this recently to somebody, and they were like, holy cow, Karl, never thought about that. We talk about, you know, when somebody goes through change all the time, like transform. Anytime you hear the word transformation, the most in the personal development space, the thing that comes up all the time is a caterpillar to a butterfly, right?
Mm,
Everybody's talking about the caterpillar. It goes through this metamorphosis and it has to, you know, struggle and it breaks out of the
mm-hmm.
cocoon and it's a beautiful butterfly. Cool. No issues with that. The thing that hit me recently is that it is impossible. I'm gonna take a drink of water. I want this to be really, really dramatic. So hold on. It is impossible. Think about this. It is impossible for a for a butterfly to become a caterpillar. There's no
That part.
possible way for a butterfly to go back. Once the butterfly has emerged, gone through its process, and come out of the cocoon and flexes those wings up, from this day forward, you will no longer crawl on the dirt again. From this day
Exactly.
forward, you're no longer the same person. So that's the part that excites me for people, because it's like, not only do you change, but this could be, no, sorry, let me say it correctly. This is a permanent change,
Yep.
right? And the reason I'm focused so hard on the transformational stuff is because it's that exact reason. When I do these habits long enough, that's now who Karl is. There's no going back, right? There's no opportunity to go back to dirt. Like you can land on the dirt, but quite a skip. From this point on, we're actually looking at pollen. We're looking at flowers. We've elevated from that dirt stuff, right?
Exactly.
And now
Trees.
we're flying around. We're in trees. You get what I'm saying? We're pollinating. We're in our purpose.
Yep.
So for me, that process for the last couple of months has been what I've been undergoing. And when I tell you, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that stuff isn't happening, or, you know, but it's just like, it's so much easier to look at it and understand that, hey, I can reframe everything now. This is a part of the journey that God has designed for me to become the best version. Right. So let's just figure out, let's not let anything, there's nothing that should take you more than a couple of minutes to process and move on. Like there's nothing that deep. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing. I'm being honest, and this may sound harsh, right? It's tough. But the worst thing that could happen is somebody's passing, right? We lose a loved one.
Right.
I'm saying to you, and this may sound crazy, please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. But even in that scenario, you have the power to grieve, but not let it deter you from becoming who you're supposed to be. There's a grieving process. I'm not going to, absolutely, there's a piece of your life that's missing. And I'm using that as an extreme circumstance to now bring it back to, oh, you didn't get paid, or the person, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to see the grave difference between these things. Because most of us, oh, she said that, and that can turn out into a whole explosion. Or he said, or he didn't, and he,
Yep.
no, I'm saying to you, if somebody dies, we should still have a measure of control that, yes, we grieve. Yes, we go through that process, but we're actually still going forward every single day into who God designed us to be. So if we're doing it in that circumstance, every other circumstance that you come up against should be just a couple of minutes. I'm being real. Okay, you found out you got diagnosed with diabetes. Man, this is sad, but this does not mean that it's over. This means that you have to make some adjustments. You got diagnosed with cancer. Okay, this is sad. Again, I'm going extreme. But these things, God has made us mentally strong if we allow it, to be able to look these things in the face, go through them, and still be joyful. Please hear what I'm saying. It is possible. I've seen it done.
Yeah.
Melissa, that's the person that I'm designing myself to be right now by God's grace. That's who I want to be. That it does not matter what is said, what is done, what happens. It's all external. Like it is what it is. Like, forgive me, I'm super Christian. I grew up in the church, so all my references are biblical.
Oh, yeah.
But we look at the Apostle Paul. We look at Paul, and it's like, this dude went through, you name it.
Yeah.
Like they literally were like, okay, yeah, no, you're not gonna preach no more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he got to the point where he was like, oh, hey, if y'all kill me, that's a bet.
Game.
If I live, bet. Either which way goes. So I'm saying to everybody listening, that's the ultimate goal. The not so secret thing about life is that you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. I want you to control your emotions on the ups.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds weird. I want you to control your emotions on the ups. That's not the thing that's giving you life, right? It's a thing that happened, and your thoughts, again, control where that goes, right? It could be the best thing ever. It could be the worst thing ever. No, you don't know if it's the best or the worst because you're looking at it at a moment.
That's true.
What I'm trying to tell you is, if you understand that this is all a part of the process that's designed to get you to transform and become who you need to be, so ultimately you can represent the finest God has to offer, then that's the goal. Everything else, not that deep. Okay, I'm done, Melissa. I'm done.
Thank you very kindly. Yeah, there was a lot in there. So there are a couple of things I do want to highlight. One, the importance of habit stacking. Those of
Yeah.
you who've been rocking with me for a minute, you've heard me talk about that before. And Karl mentioned several that he stacked up together. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's the waking up earlier, spending time with the Lord, going to work out early enough so that he's back with his family. Then he stacks the family time on top of it. They do family worship. Then he mentioned the diet thing, like he eats something very intentional. So there's all of these things. Then there's the grounding, like spending time becoming more mindful. He added the binaural beats thing into it, like listening to certain frequencies. That is a lot of habits stacked together. But there's a powerful compounding effect, which we heard. He mentioned the confidence and then that transformation to be able to filter your thoughts, to catch them and isolate them and be able to assess, okay, do I need to process this or not? And then if you don't need to, you save time. Bringing it back
A
to
lot
beating
of
procrastination,
time.
you save
Yep.
time when you learn to grasp your thoughts. I'll be honest with you, Karl, when you mentioned that during one of the S2S podcast episodes,
Mm-hmm.
that was a recent development for me, like being able
Mm.
to separate my emotions from the thought. Like I don't have to emote about
Yes.
everything. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Or as you said, like overthinking, not necessary. You know what I mean? There are certain things that you can let pass. Like it's okay. Like it's not that deep. It's not what you think it is. Like the majority of our overthinking is our assumptions. And
Big time.
one of the things that Mustafa Gonim, for those of you who are not aware of who Mustafa Gonim is, he's known as Moose. Anytime you listen to ET talking about a guy named Moose, it's Mustafa Gonim. And one of the things he always teaches in extreme execution is an assumption is an unchallenged belief. So if you're thinking about, to Karl's example, like so and so said this, like what does she mean by that? Did she mean this? Did she mean that? Unchallenged belief. So you have the option to either let the unchallenged belief go because it doesn't have a basis, or like he said, call her and get the evidence. Like, what did you mean by that? Like, oh, I meant this. Like, oh, okay. And it wasn't what you thought it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
And
making sure. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say the thing, Melissa, is that we challenge everything except our own beliefs.
That.
We challenge everything. I'm talking about like anybody says anything, Biden, Trump, Harris, we challenge it. The Pat, whoever, we challenge, oh, this person, social media, whatever. But we don't ever sit to say, well, I believe this. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why did it impact me because this person said that? Like, why do I feel something? Like, we don't challenge our own beliefs. And it's going back to, well, we don't take the time to habit stack and really spend that time with ourselves. So now, man, I'm the first to tell you, like, oh, I see the drawbacks of being an introvert. And
Yeah,
not in a negative sense, but I'm just saying my tendency to want to be alone and not necessarily be, forthcoming with people has consequences. I'm not
it
saying it's,
does.
life or death per se, but in itself, it has consequences. Flip it. An extrovert that's talking a lot or being around people, that has consequences. So I'm just saying, because I'm an introvert doesn't mean everything about introversion is right. I
Mm,
have to challenge what I believe. I have to challenge what I feel. I have to challenge what I think, because ultimately the destination that I'm going to is going to require me to be more than the current version of me, or I would have been there.
exactly.
So if I'm not challenging these things, what I'm saying to myself is I really don't want that destination. I'm actually cool where I am because I like and it's a lie. We don't like everything. Otherwise, we wouldn't be listening to podcasts. We wouldn't be reading books. We
Right.
wouldn't be doing all the things that we're doing. So the reality is we're not comfortable, but we don't challenge ourselves. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I tell people for this year. Like, make sure you challenge your own thoughts. Like, when you think it, be alert enough, be aware enough to say, oh, wait, hold up. Wait, what was that thought? What does that
Where'd that
mean?
come from?
Where did that come from? Oh, that might be my grandmother. Like, that's not me. Like, who is that? Like, that's not even, like, I don't need that thought. That thought is not taking me where I'm trying to go. We talk about high vibrations. That thought is not a high vibration thought. Like, no. So then I don't need to be a part of that. Let me now, I'm talking about intentionally take my mind into another direction. Oh, my last workout. Like, I'm talking about, like, just find something.
Yeah,
the last book I read. We find something to replace it. And when you get to the level of doing it consistently, now you already know the things to turn to. Like, you already got a couple things that, let me make sure I go here. Let me make sure I go there. Let me channel it this way and not let the thought, that thing come and take over my life, because again, that has consequences.
Yeah, that's a great transition into accountability, because I wanted to touch on that. One of the reasons why we may not have that habit of confronting ourselves, so to speak, right? Like putting our own thoughts in check and challenging them, is that we may need some we might need a jump. Like, we might need some extra fuel, some extra energy, and extra push. So talk about the importance of the people you keep around you, because you've got some incredible accountability between ET and CJ and Jamal. Like,
yes, ma'am.
There is no going backwards with those three people. You know what I mean? So talk about the importance of accountability and having at least one other person in your corner that won't let you off the hook or will push you to challenge yourself.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with CJ less than a week ago. And again, you talk about accountability, and CJ is a very, he's very comfortable giving you that kind of, information. Let's say it like that. But, and I don't know if I was complaining. I don't know if it was something that I was giving off, but like, we were recording podcasts and he was kind of like, hey, you good? And I was like, no, I just got, I started listing off this, that, I got this to do, that to do, all the stuff I got going on. And, it was kind of like whining, if I can be honest. It was me whining, but, trying not to sound like I'm whining, because I'm around the guys. So I'm not a whiner. We don't complain. I'm not a victim. But it was still a lot on my mind at the time. We recorded a couple podcasts, so my mind was thinking about, okay, I got to get the files, we got to edit, we got to do this, and my mind was just exactly what I'm talking about. My mind was kind of taken over. So I shared that with him, and in short, what he said to me is like, he's like, you haven't yet accepted it. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Was that not a bomb interview? And of course, if you're interested in Karl's community, go to movingpastpotential.com or thegcguide.com and learn more about the book, learn more about his community. And that way you can be around the people that will push you forward. Okay. Especially if you are someone who identifies as ground screw, you prefer things to be steady. You're a no drama type of person. You like routine. You love helping people. If that's your natural behavior style, then definitely head on over to get into that community. If you're someone who is contemplating writing a book, but you've been sitting on it, or you've been kind of confused, you're wondering how to get it done, you have all the questions, all the limiting beliefs about it, go to springforwardretreat.com and sign up for the Spring Forward Writers Retreat coming up in March. By the end of the weekend, you will have your manuscript done. So sign up today so we can get the ball rolling for you. We can clear all the cobwebs, answer all your questions, and guide you into a literally life-changing experience. No lie. This will change your life and the lives of the people who read your book. Okay? So sign up today. Go to springforwardretreat.com.